Marhaban. Welcome. Welcome to the SeaWorld Research and Rescue Center. I am Dr. Elise Marquis, and I thank you all for attending this new science talk, which is the first one of this new series of 2025. As you know, this series of science talks at the center is developed in close collaboration with the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, the Emirates Natural History Group Abu Dhabi, the Natural History Museum Abu Dhabi, and Nautica Environmental Associate. And on behalf of the center and all our partners, please receive our best wishes for this new year. From me, directly, I wish you to have time to reconnect with nature and to observe and take the time to breathe and go outside and look at the wonderful nature that is outside, just at our doorstep. Look at the Arabian Gulf, look at the Arabian Desert, and enjoy it. I'm especially proud to be starting this new series with a topic that is not only extremely important, but also very dear to my heart. Tonight, we will be talking about seagrass. And there is a lot to say about it. We have a long night ahead. But we are very lucky to have three wonderful speakers who will, I have no doubt about that, inspire you to pay more attention to and think differently about this underdog marine habitat, seagrass. Our three speakers are Ms. Noura Al-Mansouri from the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi, Dr. Abdelmenam Mohamed from the Convention on Migratory Species. He should join us very soon. And Dr. Hung Man Nguyen from the Very Much Center. Please just remember to keep your question for the end of the talks, as we will be having a Q&A session with all our speakers at the end. And please refrain from going in and out of the room. I hope you had your refreshments. If you need a glass, you can go right now. You have 2 minutes. And please come back, turn off your phone, and enjoy the evening and the talks. I will start with our first speaker tonight. And I'm delighted to be able to call Dr. Hung Nguyen on stage tonight. Hung, I've met Hung earlier this year, and it's been, from the start, not a love story, but something that I hope it's a long story, that's for sure. Dr. Hung Nguyen joined the center just actually a few weeks ago, but he's already making a lot of positive waves around us. I cannot wait to see his research project on seagrass becoming reality here in Abu Dhabi. Dr. Hung is a marine ecologist with a PhD in biology from Naples in Italy. Following a postdoctoral research fellow position at Ben Gurion University, he joined the center as a senior researcher. He's passionate about seagrass, you will see that right away, and he has dedicated the last 10 years to studying various aspects of seagrass research on different seagrass species, population across the world. But, of course, I will let him talk. Now it's your turn, Hung. Please enjoy the evening, and thanks again for coming.
Hello. Hi. Thanks a lot, Elise, for the very warm and nice introduction, and thank you, everybody, for coming. I would say, I just came here a few weeks ago, and I was given this incredible opportunity with one of the largest public audience I have had so far to talk about seagrass. So thank you all for spending your time. It's not easy to bring people to come here and listen to science. So this is already fantastic. My name is Hung. I'm originally from Vietnam, you might know from my name, one of the most common names in Vietnam. So today I'm going to talk about seagrass. I'm going to give you a brief introduction about seagrass. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've done in my research on seagrass, and then I'm going to share with you the vision we have here with the seagrass program at the center. But before I start my talk, I would like to do a very quick survey just to understand more about the audience here. Like it's a little game. So I'm going to show you a picture of some important coastal ecosystem here we have here in Abu Dhabi and UAE as well. So if any one of you know about what is that ecosystem, or maybe you have seen it, or you maybe haven't seen it, but maybe you know what it is, so please raise your hands so I know, like, if you know anything. So yeah, if you can. Oh, actually it's went a bit faster. It went a bit faster than what I expected. But any of you have seen this one? Please raise your hands. Wow. Or at least you heard about this one from the TV. Okay, so almost everybody here have at least one time in your life seen it or heard about it. This is coral, right? It's a beautiful creature. Everybody would pay money to see coral, right? So the next one. Okay, also many people are familiar with this one. This is actually in Abu Dhabi here, mangroves forest. This one. Yeah, wow. I am very happy to see maybe 10, 20 people have seen this, but we can already see that the majority of the people have never seen this one before. And okay, this is like normal. Believe me, this is normal. Whenever I talk about seagrass, most of the people don't know about it. And that's why this kind of activity, public speaking, is crucial to increase the awareness and understanding of the public about one of the most important ecosystem on Earth, but that is very, very unknown. So this is called seagrass. And these are actually two seagrass species we have here in Abu Dhabi water. I'm going to talk about the introduction of seagrass, and our next speaker, Nora, is going to talk much more about the seagrass here in Abu Dhabi. So today I'm going to talk about the unsung heroes of the coastal environment. First, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the evolution of seagrass. So where do we have seagrass? So so this is like one of the most well accepted evolutionary theory we have. So life on Earth started from the ocean, something about 460 million years ago when the first land plant arrived on Earth. And after the successful establishment of the plants on Earth, it's about 60 to 90 million years ago. For some reason that we don't really fully understand, but for some reason there was a small group of plants. Somehow they went back to the sea. So maybe they got tired of living on land. They gone back to the sea and live happily in the sea. And these are seagrasses. Any of one can guess how many land species we have out there? Any number? Yes, please. Any of you, yeah, if you can guess. 120 million. Wow, it's a very big number. I wish that was true, but actually it's not that many. Any other number? Any hand? Yes, please. 46 what? Only 46 species. No, we have more. We have way more than 46, yeah. Another guess? 1,000? Many more, yes. last one, yes. 4,000? I am very happy to tell you that the level of plant diversity is way more than that. Not millions, but we have around 435,000 land species out there. And now guess, for those going back to the sea, like the very special group of the plant, going back to the sea, how many species do you think they are? How many of them successfully went back to the sea? Yes. 10, wow. I want another number. Yes, please. 70! From where did you get that number? Because that's exactly the number. Congratulations, maybe we have a hidden expert here. Can you please share from where did you get it, or did you just quickly Google it? Ah. Okay. Wow, I really appreciate very much that you remember that number. That means a lot to me. Thanks a lot. So yeah, think about it. We have more than 400,000 land species here. Only 70 of them can survive in the marine system. So this is a remarkable number. Not all the plants can do that. So now we know more or less from where they are from. Now let's check where we can find them. So despite the fact that they are only around 70 species, they are actually everywhere. So in the coastal ecosystem, from in the tidal to the record we have so far is about 72-meter depth. Actually, that in the Red Sea. And the only limiting factor for them not to go deeper is just because there will be almost no light. So they are plants. They need light to do photosynthesis and survive. So that is a limiting factor. So we know where they are from, where they are distributing. And here, this is the world map of seagrass. And we can be proud to say that in this region, the Arabian Gulf, we are amongst the region with the highest level of seagrass diversity here in this country. I don't know if we have a pointer here. So in our region, we can be proud to say. I was in Israel for many years, and it's sad to say that in Israel there's only one species. So it's a little bit boring after some years study again and again one species. Here we have many more than that, so this is also a very good opportunity to do seagrass research. So how do they look? So seagrass come with different sizes and shape, but most of the time they will have like a long leaf going from what is called like the stem on land plant is called rhizome, because they are growing like horizontally along the seabed. They can be very big, like the Posidonia, the king of the Mediterranean seagrasses. They can be a meter or even more than 1 meter. And if you ever have a chance to go diving in the seagrass meadow, you will never forget that experience. I can promise that one. They can be like smaller, something like 40, 50 centimeter and with narrow leaf, smaller leaf. Or they can be small, like a coffee spoon, that what we have, the tropical seagrass here, Halophilus ovalis. And one of the things that happened to me a lot whenever I have a time to talk with the people and like, do you know about seagrass? Yeah, I know, it's seaweed. No, seagrass are not seaweed. And just to make it clear, I'm going to give you a comparison. So after this talk, I'm hoping that you work out this. And the next time when you hear someone come to you and say, yeah, seagrass are seaweed, you can confidently explain to them, seagrass are not seaweed. Yeah. So this is the brief comparison. First of all, seagrass are plants. They're not only plants, they are true plants with flower, with fruits, with leaf, with stem, with root system. Like whatever land plant on Earth, on the terrestrial system have, they also have it. On the other hand, seaweed are actually algae, macroalgae. So there's no leaf, there's no stem, there's no root. What people think is root is actually not root, it's called holdfast. It's just like a modified cells helping them to attach to some sediment. But basically the cell here and the cell over there are the same cell, and sometimes we can see chloroplast here as well. So actually they can do photosynthesis here as well. But seagrass are different. They have very specialized structure. So they have leaf here, right? The rhizome, like what I said before, it's actually the stem, like the plant on land. But because they're growing in the sea, so they're crawling on the seabed, they have roots, specialized roots. They have flower, and then eventually seed. On the other hand, the seaweed, the way they are reproducing is they are producing spore. Here, the black one here. They are producing spore to reproduce. It's like fungi. The way fungi are reproducing is like the way seaweed are reproducing. And why it is so important to distinguish between seagrass and seaweeds is because even though sometimes they look very much alike, but the way they can contribute to the ecosystem are very different. Because think about it, seagrass, they are true plants with the system that can actually hold the sediment. On the other hand, the seaweed, because there's no root, they're not going deep into the sediment, and they cannot really secure the sediment as well as they can be washed away quickly. So this is one of the very important points to make it clear that seagrass are not seaweed. Why should we care about seagrass, right? That's a very basic question. If you want to, it's not, so I'm doing research on seagrass. I'm a seagrass lover. I'm proudly to say I'm a seagrass lover. But it's not the only reason why I want to do research on seagrass, because there's many, many other reasons, and they are so important. Oh, it turns out I need 3 hours to talk about the importance of seagrass, but I'm going to make it very quick just to highlight some important point here. Seagrass live in the coastal ecosystem, so they are almost everywhere around the world. I'm going to highlight some important things here. So first of all, food. They are food to marine organisms. Like dugong, here we have dugong, right? The famous animal, near extinct animal here. Sea turtle, fish. They providing shelter, like they providing homes for coastal fish and invertebrate. They are protecting the coastal area because they have the root system that's going to stick in the seabed and then secure from erosion. And one of the things that had, how to say, attract attention recently is, actually we discovered, so we have the problem nowadays because we are burning fossil fuels, so we have the CO2 emission that heating up the earth. So we have ocean warming, global warming, and we are trying to do everything to remove the CO2 from the atmosphere. And everybody talk about the rainforest, the tropical rainforest, maybe one of the planet lung, right? But there was a shocking fact about the capability of capturing CO2. So these graph showing the amount or the rate of CO2 that can be captured by different ecosystems. So we have tropical forests, boreal forests, temperate forests, and then we have marshal, mangrove, and seagrass. Don't let the y-axis make you think wrong, because this is 10, but the next one is not 20. The next one is 100, and then 1,000. So turns out, for an equivalent size, a seagrass meadow can capture 35 times more CO2 than tropical rainforest. What we are seeing on land is actually not as effective as the hidden forest in the sea. And think about it, they are in the sea, right? They're not taking any single hectare of land for agriculture, for many other things. So they are doing it for free without even taking any piece of land owners. So that's one of the main reasons why the seagrass ecosystem are so important, and that they can also provide the opportunity to fight against the wars with climate change. We have a very powerful tools to fight against the war with climate change that not many people here, even in this room, know about it. I hope you know about it now, but when you came to this room, you didn't know about it. So that is for an applicational point of view. For a research point of view, as a scientist, right? I'm using seagrass in the model system. Of course, I want to protect seagrass, but also seagrass providing a remarkable model species to study plant adaptation to extreme conditions. Why? Because living in the sea is not fun. I'm telling you, the marine environment is not fun. Actually, extreme condition. Very low light. outside in the midday, we have something, the light condition is something around 2,500 par. Let's forget about par, we don't care, but that's just the unit of the night. Think of it, outside we have 2,500 par. That's all the land plant they're getting to do photosynthesis. If we go to 10-meter depth, in a good sunny day, we have something around, even the water is clear, we have something around like 200, 300 par maximum. So think about it, they're getting much less light to do photosynthesis, and for plant photosynthesis is everything. If you don't do photosynthesis, nothing, you cannot survive. So low light condition, they have evolved to survive such a low light condition. Not need to say that some seagrass species, they are growing at 70-meter depth with almost nothing there, and they can survive. Think about it, it's remarkable. Extreme saline, right? We all know that the sea is very salty. Just to give you an example, like one of the most saline tolerant crop plant, like the sunflower, sometimes they can survive the saline water 1%. More than that, they would die. Seagrass, they are living happily in the marine condition where the salt condition is 4%. Every day, that's their life. So not something, not all the plants can survive that. The sediment in the sea, because there's no gas exchange, no oxygen exchange, it's very, very toxic. And seagrass, they have involved in very smart way that they are taking the oxygen produced from photosynthesis, pumping oxygen into the rhizome, right, to make the area around the root system less toxic, and that's how they can survive. There's no insect in the sea. How to do pollination where there's no bees around? So they have involved many other things. As a scientist, as a biologist, I see seagrass of an amazing model species, really to understand how the nature works, not only for seagrass, but also applicable for all plant science in general as well. So that about what I wanted to say about, give you like a brief introduction about seagrass. Now I'm going to move to the second part of my talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about my background and my research on seagrass so far. So yeah, I'm from Vietnam. I did my first degree in Vietnam, and then I moved to Israel for a master in plant sciences from Tel Aviv University before I went to Italy for my PhD, and then after my PhD, I went back to Israel for a postdoc, and just last month I came here, started my journey here. And now I'm going to talk about two research that I think is very relevant to our talk today, one from my PhD and one from my postdoc. So the main topic of my PhD degree was about stress memory in seagrass. And so when I first started my PhD, actually this was not the original idea of my PhD thesis. I came with a different project. And while doing like literature review, reading like 100, 200 paper, I realized there was nothing had been done on stress memory on seagrass. So I spoke with my supervisor, well, this is cool, this is something new, maybe we should give it a try. So the concept of stress memory in plant is actually very simple. If we apply a level of stress to plant, and if the plant will not die and recover, they will acquire something is called like stress memory. And when the stress come back, they will be able to deal better. They know how to cope better and have a better chance to survive. Very, very simple. So I was asking myself a question. Does it work on seagrass? Yeah, this has been applied in terrestrial plant, crop plants, but does it work also on seagrass? So we started a series of experiments, very straightforward experimental design. We have the control, we have the non-plant plant, we have the plant plant. Let's expose them to a very high level of stress and see what happens. The idea is the heat plant plants will experience a lower level of stress because they already acquire some sort of stress memory from the first exposure to the temperature. And then we did all kind of measurements to understand how the plant was responding to the second exposure of stress, and then this is the result. We did it in 4 different seagrass species from the Mediterranean Sea and also from the Australian Sea. And they all came with the same conclusion. This is showing the maximum quantum G of the photosystems too. So basically, the capability of the Seagrass to do photosynthesis, one a very universal indicator of stress. Not forget about the number here, but what you can see clearly is the blue line showing the capability of the plant, that non-plant, the one with no memory at all, no experience with stress. The green one is the control, so it's stable throughout the experiment. The red one is the one that gone through the first priming heat. And what we can see here from both species, that the red line is higher, actually significantly higher than the blue line. It means that because thanks to the first exposure to the heat wave, the prime plants receive the same dose of stress but with less level of impact. So somehow they learn. From the photosynthetic point of view, we have evidence showing that. And then we were looking at the gene expression level, a very, very good indicator of stress response, because something maybe is not really visible at the morphology, but it will be visible in the gene expression level. And what we can see here is the red color indicating the gene that go up, and the blue color indicating the gene that's go down. So if the plant, even is true for human, if we want to activate some gene, that is the energy, we're spending energy when we want to activate some gene. And what we can see here is the non-plant plants, they tend to activate more gene because they didn't know what to do. When they received the stress, they were trying everything they could to survive. While on the other hand, the prime plant, they already knew from the experience. So they know, okay, maybe I don't need to express those genes. I know exactly what I need to do. So they got something I call more energy efficient response than the prime plants, than the non-prime plant. And it's true for the 4 Seagrass species that I tested. So come back to my question, does stress memory work on Seagrass? Yes, it's there. But why is it so important? It's not just fun. Yeah, it's work, but what's the point? Why? I want to show you something. I want to show you a video. So this is from NASA. This is the Earth's surface temperature from the 1990 until 2022. Now let's have a look together. This is relative to the Earth temperature before 1880. Yeah. Now it's okay. It's around, like, the temperature was very stable. Oh, suddenly something happened. Well, it looks like it's getting hotter and hotter. Whoa, whoa. Wow. I think it is too obvious, right, that the Earth is getting hotter. It's not only getting hotter, but it's getting hotter much, much faster in recent years. And there's no doubt about it, because I think we already experience this extreme climatic weather. So covering 70% of the Earth, the ocean is not escaping from that sad story. So we have the average temperature of the seawater is increasing gradually, but also we experience something is called extreme climatic event or marine heat wave. When we suddenly in the sea for a few days, the temperature went up like 2-3 degrees without any warning. And that is more serious than the gradual, because all the marine ecosystem, they're not familiar with that kind of rapid changes, and they can die faster. And it's scary to say that the figure you see here is actually a prediction of what is going to happen in the year 20 and from now to the year 2100. They was using the data for many years and using different models, and they all came back to the same conclusion that by the year 2100, every single day we're gonna be a marine heat wave days because the sea temperature is just too hot. And what is going to happen to all the marine ecosystem? It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a global collapse of the marine ecosystem. It's scary, right? So what happened with seagrass? I see this one as both challenges and opportunity. Challenges is what? We have marine heat wave. Many seagrass population will die. And actually many seagrass population in the world have died already. It's very sad to say. But also we have marine heat waves not coming every day. It's coming in the summer. So repeatedly. You see the link between the stress memory and this story? So actually the marine heat wave are training some seagrass. If they can survive, they will learn and they will evolve. And maybe some of them will survive. That gives us some hope. And as a researcher, and we have the, we need to take what we can learn from nature, right? Maybe we can support them. We can do faster. We can train them in the lab. So instead of waiting them to be trained in the sea, we can take them to the lab and train them, and we can increase the succeed of the seagrass restoration and conservation. So that is the opportunity I see from this one. The second experiment I want to talk about is one of the in situ experiment we did when I was in Israel. So we went to the sea and actually measure how much CO2 that was uptaken by seagrass meadow and how much oxygen were production. So we talk about seagrass contributing, right? They're taking CO2, they are producing oxygen, but how much? We want to give a number, the actual number. So we went to the sea and we did the actual experiment in different site, different season, and this is the result. So first of all, we are now able to calculate for an area of seagrass meadow how much CO2 are taken every single day, actually every hour, every year, and also how much oxygen are producing, are contributing to the environment. So that's the first thing we can do. But what is really interesting here I want to show you is for the second year, we did it for 2 continuous years, and the second year, it's just by chance when we were doing the job, the marine heat wave arrived. And what I think is scary is, I want to explain to you this graph because it's so important. This is NAPDO, so basically the amount of oxygen are producing by, like in this case is by leaf area, 1 square meter of leaf area, but forget about the unit for now. But what is important is here. You see the 0? Yeah? So all the numbers is above the 0, and except for this one. What does it mean? It means that when the marine heat wave arrive, the seagrass, meadow, they are producing oxygen. They become consuming oxygen. So not only they are not contributing to oxygen at all, but they are also breathing, just like any other organism. They are using oxygen from the water. So that's scary. The second one is the same story for CO2. So instead of like taking up the CO2, they are producing CO2. So now we know that the impact of marine heat wave for seagrass is not just to kill them, but also to make them not be able to contribute as an ecosystem provider, but also contribute to global warming. So this is something very remarkable, and we need to do something about this one. And now we know that the impact of marine heat wave is not stopping there. It's more than that. So now I'm going to talk about the research program that we are developing here. So here at the center, we are committed to secure, hopefully together with the EAD and other organizations here, we are committed to secure a sustainable future for the seagrass in the UAE and in the region, and hopefully also at the global scale. And we are doing it three main pillars: the field project, lab project, and then beyond. in the field project, we are planning to do a lot of experiments in the sea when we are mapping the seagrass. And also we want to see also the genetic diversity and connectivity of the region. And we want to study many other aspects in the field. In the lab, we are very lucky to have a dedicated system here when we can test different effects of condition to seagrass, and we can predict what is going to happen to the seagrass in the near future. And beyond, we are hoping to bring knowledge to the audience, something like this one. So thank you very much for coming. And we are committed to participate, enjoy all the collaboration across the region and also all over the world, trying to facilitate seagrass, not only in the UAE, but also in the region. And if you walk out of this door of the talk tonight, maybe you will not remember my name, but I hope that you will remember the next time when you go to the sea, there are some unsung, hidden superhero right beneath the wave, and they are called seagrass. So thank you so very much, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah.
Amazing. I told you he was good. All right. Well, the second speaker is even as good, if not better. It's Noura. And I would like to introduce Miss Al-Mansouri. And I would like to thank Noura so much because she's a busy bee, working at the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi at the same time as completing her PhD studies. So we are very lucky to have her here tonight. Noura is a passionate marine biologist who is committed to preserving the precious underwater ecosystem of the Arabian Gulf. Her love for the ocean stems from her childhood spent playing on the sandy shores of Abu Dhabi. And she has dedicated her life to studying and protecting the fragile underwater ecosystem of the region. As a specialist at the Marine Biodiversity Assessment and Conservation Team at the EAD, Noura is on the front lines of marine conservation efforts in the UAE. But Noura is also, as I said, PhD candidate at Bangor University in the UK, where she is studying the complex ecology and physiology of seagrass in the southern Gulf. And I'm not going to say more because she will explain all about it. So thank you so much, Noura. Come on stage. It's your turn. I'm just going to... I just need to... Yes. And... we're going to get some help.
We're just looking for my slides.
Oh, yes, that's it. That's it.
Ah, okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for coming tonight. Today, I'll be talking about the science and conservation of Abu Dhabi seagrasses in particular. I think Dr. Hong covered a lot on seagrass, so we tried to not overlap the information, so my focus will be mostly on Abu Dhabi and what the seagrasses of Abu Dhabi. You might be wondering why there's a photo of an oasis and sand dunes and the desert, and that's because similarly to the history of seagrasses, I also came from the desert. So I'm originally from Al Ain, but I also wanted to migrate into the sea, just like seagrasses, I guess. And these are some of the elements that I grew up with, but it's not because I never liked them that I migrated to the underwater world, but I find the environment of our region very intriguing, and I was curious about all the environmental aspects of our country. I'll just give a bit of a background of why am I standing here today? So why is someone like me talking about seagrasses? I started my journey probably in the university where I studied environmental horticulture, which has nothing to do with marine sciences, but it's a start. I studied plants and I studied plant biology, and I really loved plants. But I also really loved the sea and underwater life. So moving on from when I graduated from the university, I got a really lovely job as a research assistant with Dr. John Burt. He's sitting right here. As a research assistant in his marine biology lab. And I worked there for 6 years, learning all about the marine life and gaining various expertise from so many different experts. But then I had to leave, sadly. But during the time there, I applied for a PhD candidacy in Bangor University, where I focused the research solely on Abu Dhabi seagrasses, not just general seagrasses. And I was very adamant to do seagrasses in Abu Dhabi, which I'm still working on as well. So I'm still writing up my PhD. But I'm also working at the Environment Agency in the Marine Biodiversity Assessment and Conservation team, and I'll explain more about what we do in the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi. So just to give a background of the Arabian Gulf, there's a lot of seagrass here, and most of them are actually in Abu Dhabi waters. So 80% of the seagrasses in the Arabian Gulf is found here in Abu Dhabi. And that's a really big number, and that's very significant in terms of how much seagrass we have in the region. And this also, in the Arabian Gulf also has 6% of the total world's seagrass, but I think let's focus just on Abu Dhabi for now. So when it comes to Abu Dhabi seagrasses, we have marine protected areas, and 30% of Abu Dhabi seagrasses are confined within those protected areas. And the biggest protected areas in the middle here is called Murawah, and it's the Murawah Marine Biosphere Reserve, and it contains the largest herds of dugongs after Al Yasat Marine Protected Area. So I think protected areas are really important in terms of conserving these natural habitats for these species, and I'll go into more details about them. You might think, where are you in this map? So you're right over there. Just to give you a bit of context, that Abu Dhabi has a really large coastline, and we have a lot of marine habitats in this region alone. So within these meadows, we only have 3 species, and the most dominant species is Halodiolina nervus, and then we have Halophila stipulacea and Halophila ovalis. So just these 3 species make up the 80% of the Arabian Gulf seagrasses. So they're really pioneering species, and they're very small, but they mean a lot to everyone, or they contribute to a lot of important things, which I'll go into detail more. So this really made me curious about how they function, and that's one of the reasons why I pursued my PhD on seagrasses alone. I wanted to know what's so special about them and understand how they function in these really extreme environments, especially in the summertime. And if you live in Abu Dhabi, you know how hot it gets in the summertime. So understanding how they survive these fluctuations during the summer and also during the winter has really intrigued my curiosity. So when it comes to my PhD work, I'm not going to go into details and give you scientific findings, but I'll just give you the theme of what my PhD was about. The graph in the back just shows the fluctuations of temperatures in Abu Dhabi. So it just shows you that there's a big dip in the summer, and there's different extremes. There's an extreme winter and an extreme summer, and this is really I think this really affects the species and how they function in these environments. So my main question for my PhD was how do seagrasses thrive under these extreme conditions? And which environmental factors are limiting or drive patterns of seasonality in seagrasses? And they might sound like very simple questions, like it's not a one-sentence answer question. It requires a lot of data collection. So over the course of 3 years, during COVID, we managed to have different sites around Abu Dhabi where we went out almost every 2 months to gather data, collect samples, and also process these samples in the lab, but also analyze and do a lot of literature work within this context. But of course, while staying safe during hot seasons. So the thing about doing fieldwork is that you need to be very safe when it comes to extreme temperature. So during the summertime, it was a bit difficult collecting samples, but we managed to stay safe. And I think, similarly to Dr. Hung, why should we care? I get asked a lot. So I'll just take a step back and answer this question again, but in kind of my way. So many people have asked me before, like, why should we care about seagrasses? Like, it's just grass. They're not corals. They're not colorful. It's just green. I think in Abu Dhabi alone, there's more than 3,000 reasons why, and these are dugongs. So what's special about dugongs? In Abu Dhabi, we have the second largest population of dugongs after Australia. But they also consume 30 kilograms of seagrass per day, between 30 to 40 kilograms per day. And that's an equivalent of 300 apples per day. So imagine eating 300 apples per day. That's how much seagrass dugongs consume during a day. So because these marine mammals feed exclusively on seagrasses, it's enough reasons to say that we should care, and you should care too. So this is some lovely footage by Shamsa. It's taken in Abu Dhabi. So all the images that you see here is in Abu Dhabi. I'll just dive in a little bit on the Mrawah Marine Biosphere Reserve, which is in the western region of Abu Dhabi, and why it's important for seagrass. It's because the largest herd is also concentrated within that protected area. So protected areas are important for seagrass, but also for the associated marine flora and fauna. So it's not just dugongs. There are other marine species that do rely on seagrasses. So they serve as important breeding and foraging grounds for the endangered green turtles. But not only that, they're also a direct food source for many herbivores, very small herbivores, while also providing an indirect energy source to the food web or to the ecosystem of the seagrass. So you have seahorses, you have rays, but you have so many different species that live within these rhizomes and root systems. So even though they're refuge to many cryptic creatures and fish that use these as nursery habitats for they serve as nursery habitats for commercially important fish. Sorry. Yeah. But pearl oysters, shrimps, and many other use these beds for food, shelter, and growth. We might not see them, but they are important. I think you talked about carbon sequestration and nutrient sequestration, and the graph you showed on seagrass, how seagrass and salt marshes with mangroves are one of the highest carbon sequesters in the world. In Abu Dhabi alone, a study in 2013 was done, and 52 tons per hectare of blue carbon is stored in seagrass beds only in Abu Dhabi. And this carbon stock is really important because we need to understand how much carbon is being sequestered in Abu Dhabi alone. But it doesn't stop there. We also need to know the rate of its sequestration, like how fast are seagrasses sequestering carbon. Because of the seasonality, mangroves are always there, but with seagrass, they sometimes die off during the summer or during stress periods. So there's no seagrass sometimes, it's just sand. But the rhizomes, the root system is still there. So we need to know if these root systems are also still sequestering carbon and at which rate. So this study is being conducted currently at EAD to look at the carbon sequestration rates of all coastal ecosystems in Abu Dhabi. And because they're found near coastal areas, which are very close to human settlements and human development, most of the threats to seagrasses are from human activities. And some of the main ones are coastal development, decreased marine water quality, dredging and landfilling, and climate change, of course, is one of the major threats to seagrass. But when it comes to decreased marine quality, I think this region has a very big decreased marine quality issue. And this video was taken in one of the channels of Abu Dhabi, where you can see a lot of epiphytic algae growing on the seagrass leaf. And this is very concerning when it comes to the health of the seagrass. So even though it's still surviving, it might not be able to adapt to these nutrient loads for very long. Just to touch point on the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi. So what is the Environment Agency? For most of you probably know, but just to give you a context. So the Environment Agency is the environmental regulator in Abu Dhabi that is committed to protecting the environment. So when it comes to seagrass, and it's important in terms of foraging and nursery area for many marine wildlife and fish, we have like 3 pillars that we try to do our best in. And they're conservation, research and monitoring, and restoration. And the most recent thing is restoration. When it comes to conservation, so protecting existing habitats is really important. So understanding where they are through research and monitoring, so understanding the ecosystem health status, and scouting for areas where there might be a possibility of seagrass beds, and making sure that there's no threats to that area is important as well. But then when it comes to identifying degraded habitats, restoration is really key. So restoring degraded habitats using the right methods is also important. And this is what we're currently doing. So we're trying to identify the best practices of restoration when it comes to seagrasses. So we're very successful when it comes to mangroves and corals, but seagrass is still new. So I think I'll just conclude my talk very early. I don't know where Dr. Elise is, but, oh, yeah. So in conclusion, I think even though there are many gaps that need to be filled, but I think the collaboration and the projects that we're starting together is a pivotal point. And 3 of us met at the ISBW last year, which is the International Seagrass Biology Workshop. So Abu Dhabi won the bid to host this workshop next year in 2026. And this is a pivotal moment for seagrass science for this region. But not only that, the Environment Agency and Abu Dhabi is part of the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough. And it's a global initiative for seagrass ecosystem conservation. And I think our next speaker would be talking about this more in detail. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Noura. Yes, exactly, you're right. Our next speaker will talk exactly about that, about the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough. Dr. Abdelmenam Mohamed is here with us. And I'm very excited to introduce him on stage. So we will just need maybe 1 minute to just put the presentation on. But first of all, I want to introduce you, Abdelmenam. Abdelmenam is working for the Convention on Migratory Species, and as we said, he will be focusing his talk on the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough, and even though there will be an official launch, and we will be speaking about it in more details later on, but we are very proud to be able to say tonight that the center, the SeaWorld Research and Rescue Center, will be is part of the initiative as well. So we are extremely proud of that, and thank you for coming tonight, Abdelmenam, to speak about it in details. But just to introduce you, Abdelmenam brings over 15 years of experience in advancing science for environmental policy to foster environmental sustainability and informed decision-making at international, regional, and national levels. Formerly an environmental specialist with the United Nations Development Programme in Libya, and also, among many other positions, science advisor for the West Asia Office for the UN Environment Programme. Abdelmenam recently joined the CMS office here in Abu Dhabi as the head of the Dugong MOU Secretariat. And so he's focusing on leading and coordinating efforts in implementing and managing the Dugong MOU, very much obviously linked to the Seagrass topic of tonight. I will let him introduce more about the work of the CMS here, of the Dugong MOU, and indeed of the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough. Come on stage. I will if anyone, I will try that. Let's do that.
Trust my flash memory.
I just need to see.
Yes, it's coming.
It's here. But I'd like to see it here. Sorry. How do I do that? Don't do duplicate.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, of course, I would like to thank SeaWorld and the Center, and Elise specifically, for organizing this series of science talk and to discuss a very important topic to us, which is the seagrass. And before I will start the presentation, maybe I would like to give you a quick overview about CMS and about the Dugong MOU, and then I will present the Seagrass Breakthrough Initiative in more details. And I think the two other speakers, they paved the way for me and spoke about the importance of the seagrass and the dugong and the threats, etc. So I think it's well covered.
Can we plug his computer? Yeah. We're gonna change the computer. Just stay with us. Up, up, up. Okay, here we go.
Excellent, we fixed it. So, as I said, I will start the presentation first to give you a quick overview about the CMS and the Convention of Migratory Species, which is administered under UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme. The overall goal of the convention which is the only environmental treaty that address the conservation of the migratory species. So the overall goal is conservation of the migratory species and their habitat throughout their entire range. This convention provides a framework for legally binding instrument and agreement to enforce the strict protection for endangered species. The convention also addresses the threat mitigation, like bycatch, climate change, etc., and also promote habitat conservation. So the convention, the CMS, has already a mandate to work on habitat conservation, especially the critical ones that are endangered, such as the seagrass ecosystem. The convention also provides a different instrument to protect the migratory species. We have 7 agreements and 14 MOU or 19 MOUs, plus 4 special species initiatives. One of the instruments is the Dogon MOU, which I am coordinating. The overall goal of this MOU is to promote internationally coordinated actions to ensure the long-term survival of dugongs and their seagrass habitats. So specifically, we are talking about the seagrass habitat in this MOU throughout their extensive range. This MOU is not legally binding, so it provides flexibility to countries to work in a collaborative manner. This agreement also started in 2007, so we are more than 15 years in operation. The secretariat for this MOU is Abu Dhabi, here in UAE, and it is hosted by EAD on behalf of the government. So far, we have 27 signatory states out of 46 range states. The threats for dugong and seagrass, I think the 2 speakers handled this topic very well. In summary, we are talking about threats for dugongs, the bycatch, direct catch, which is illegal hunting, vessel strike, destruction of seagrass habitat, in addition to other threats. For the seagrass, we are talking about damaging fishing methods like trawling and dredging, development of coastal area pollution, severe storm events, and of course, climate change. So these are the main threats that are challenging the conservation of the dugong and the seagrass ecosystem. In this slide, I'm summarizing some of the key initiatives or conservation initiatives that the MOU, the Dugong MOU, plays a role in advancing the seagrass conservation. The first one is the Dugong and Seagrass Conservation Project that started 10 years back and focused mainly on protecting seagrass habitat and reducing bycatch to ensure dugong survival. So this project was funded by the GEF 5, we call it. The second project is still ongoing, is the ICI Seagrass Ecosystem Service Project, also funded by the German Climate Initiative, aims to quantify ecosystem services of seagrass meadows and emphasizing their value for biodiversity and coastal communities. The third initiative, which is I will explain in more detail, is the Seagrass Breakthrough, the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough Initiative, which is under the framework of the UNFCCC framework, which is an umbrella to safeguard seagrass ecosystem as a vital carbon sinks, but also as a critical habitat for dugong. So talking about the seagrass breakthrough, we need to take one step back to see what are the other initiatives and campaigns that are related to the climate and the Paris Agreement. For instance, we have two major UN-backed initiatives. One is the Race to Resilience, and the other one is Race to Zero. Both, they are addressing the climate change challenges and trying to bring all actors and state and non-state actors to help in addressing the issue of climate change. And then we have the 2030 Breakthroughs, also another campaign to address the climate change, under which we have the Ocean Breakthroughs, which address the impact of different sectors related to the ocean. For instance, the transport and aquatic food, coastal tourism, ocean renewable energy. So these sectors that provide or affect the ocean in way or another. In addition to that, we have also the marine conservation. Under the marine conservation, we are talking about, for the time being, three breakthroughs. One is related to coral, and the other one mangrove, and we are coordinating with the high-level champions, climate champions, the Seagrass Breakthrough. So why 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough? If we are looking at the different angles of the value of the seagrass, be it ecological value or climate values or socio-economic values, we can see a lot of examples that shows the importance of the seagrass in protecting, in helping either the ecological aspects or the climate or the community and socio-economic aspects. The Seagrass Breakthrough has, or grounded in 10 principles, as you can see in this slide. I will not go through them, all of them, but we ensured through this, through the design of this initiative that is, for instance, science-based, where we have a pool of experts revising all the initiative that falls under this initiative to make sure that we are having a scientific proved actions that will contribute to the conservation of the seagrass ecosystem. We have 4 goals. One goal is a financial goal, because we noticed there is a huge financial gap in terms of providing the protection to the seagrass ecosystem. We are talking about $12 billion by 2030 US dollar to support the restoration and the conservation of the seagrass. But also we have 3 other goals related to, one goal is related to halting seagrass loss, basically to stop the human induced drivers of seagrass loss by 2030. The third goal is doubling the seagrass area under effective protection. And here's the emphasis on effective protection, because we see a lot of efforts to, protect the seagrass ecosystem, but how effective these measures, we need really to make sure that these measures are really effective. The last goal is accelerating seagrass restoration, and basically to facilitate and scale up the development and the implementation of innovative solution to restore these ecosystems. Key milestones to date. The initiative was announced during COP28 in Dubai, in UAE. In the 5th of December, we had a public announcement of the initiative. Then in December 9, Her Excellency, the Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Environment, announced that UAE joined the initiative. And then we had a high-level dialogue to support to get the political support, which was also organized during the COP. And then we had another COP for CMS. We call it the COP 14 in February 2024, where we had a side event to present the initiative to all signatory and member states. On February 17, we managed to get a resolution and decision from member states to support the seagrass conservation. And also in this resolution, there is a preamble mentioning the seagrass breakthrough, which is a global recognition, if you wish, to the initiative. Other milestone last year and during the World Seagrass Day in March 1st, we organized an expert workshop to finalize the 10 principles and also to brainstorm about the targets and the goals of the initiative. As I said, we established an expert pool, over 40 global seagrass experts, and they were very actively engaged in refining and reviewing the goals and the targets of the initiative. So far, the membership from country UAE in 2023, and last year the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia also joined the initiative. Other countries like US and other Southeast Asia countries, they are also considering joining the initiative very soon. Also, we are talking to different partners, and lately we received the good news from SeaWorld that they are also ready to endorse the initiative, and we will make the announcement very soon during the launching of the event, of the initiative. We had also other side events during the COP, CBD COP, and UNFCCC COP 29, basically to mobilize actors to join the initiative and to spread the word about this initiative, because what we feel compared to the other breakthroughs, the coral and the mangrove, it's overlooked when we talk about the seagrass. You know, it's not really well recognized in comparison with the other marine ecosystems. So as I mentioned, we have interest from different partners, and the last slide here is basically to summarize the takeaways and the call for action. Basically, there is a need, urgent need for seagrass conservation. And the other thing is we are using all the opportunity to invite actors, be it from the state or non-state, NGOs, institutions, financial entities, to join the initiative, to work together and scale up the conservation efforts. Third, seagrass as a climate solution. We believe that seagrass can provide a solution for climate through the carbon sequestration and the other benefits from the seagrass ecosystem. Also, we think that collaboration is needed between all the relevant actors. And finally, we need really to work together to find innovative financing mechanism and partnerships to help mobilize resources to support, because we, as I mentioned, we see a lot of gaps in terms of financial resources to support the ecosystem. With that, I come to my end of the presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Abdelmanan. I know it's late, but I'm sure we have some questions, so we're going to move the chairs here. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you for all your research and your talks today. And I'm wondering if, the seagrass is needed for the dugongs and the population is reducing. Is it reducing each year at this point?
The population of dugongs or the seagrass extent?
Well, I guess both you could answer.
I think when it comes to seagrass extent, globally it's in decline. But with our mapping efforts, we still need more data when it comes to mapping extent of Abu Dhabi seagrasses. But the thing with seagrasses is that not only do they decline, but they also shift. So it's not like mangroves, once they're there, they just stay in one place. We also have shifts, so understanding the shifting patterns as well is not that clear in this region as well. So, did I answer the question?
I think you did. Yes. Another question? Oh, yes. Here, in the middle. Hello.
So I want to ask about if the climate change affects the seagrass, can we do anything to reduce the climate change so that the seagrass gets better again?
That would be the best solution, right?
I think that's why Dr. Hung is here.
So I can tell you that it's not only us, but globally, many scientists and institutions and many governments, they are trying to do everything we can to secure the seagrass that's still here and restore the meadow that was already disappeared for whatever reason. And like one of my points that I mentioned during my talk is we are seeing seagrass management and restoration as an opportunity to fight against climate change. So it's not only preserving the coastal habitat and ecosystem, but also we are planting seagrass so we can capture more CO2 and help to reduce the impact of climate change. Yeah.
So it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, it's a win-win situation. Yeah.
Abdel Menam, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, the seagrass ecosystem for us, we see it as services, also the services of the seagrass ecosystem. This is really important to consider. So it's not only fighting the climate change and etc., but also the services to the community, to the fisheries. This is also another aspect we need also to consider when we talk about the benefits of the seagrass ecosystem.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, I just want to give a number to add to what Dr. just said. We just reached 8 billion people on Earth, and more than 1 million people are living in the very coastal area. So their livelihood is heavily dependent on what they can catch. Yeah, so I'm from Vietnam. We have very long coastal area. Many millions of people, even from my country, they are living and really depending on what they can catch in the coastal ecosystem. And seagrass, like they are providing habitats for all the marine ecosystem, many marine ecosystems in the coastal ecosystem. They are directly or indirectly affecting the livelihoods of billions of people. So protecting seagrass, like we should look in the larger picture, not only carbon capture, but also that is directly or indirectly improving the life of many people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we could add coastal erosion.
Yeah,
and,
coastal erosion as well.
Water quality, as well as like benefits fighting against coastal erosion.
I have another question.
Oh, all right. You have the microphone. I guess you can go.
That connects to my first question. What if climate change gets worse in the next few years and it affects more the seagrass?
Sorry, can you say that again? I don't think you understood.
So she's asking, what if it gets worse in the next few years?
And that we can't like fix it anymore, and that the seagrass starts to die out and stuff like that.
I think we should never give up. I think we should just keep trying.
Yeah.
And I guess this is why the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough Initiative
And
extremely important.
the other thing that we have the science, backing the efforts to address the climate change. So there is an entity that deals with the scientific aspects and the predictions and the scenarios of the climate in the future, so that we are ready to address any additional effects of the climate change in the future. So we are relying very much on the science and the report, the IPCC report, for instance, that provide every year a new update and also projection and scenarios to be considered in our operation.
All right. Yes, Kathleen.
I like seagrass too. Of the 3 types of seagrass that we find in Abu Dhabi, are they equally distributed? Is there like one that is more dominant than the other? So that's one question. And the second one, is there a preference for the dugongs for their seagrass diet?
Very
I
nice.
think the second question would be much better suited for Dr. Das. I can answer the first question. So yes, during my PhD research, I noticed that Stipulacea, which was the second one in the slide, dominated the channels. So the channels where most of the boats are usually going in and out, but never on my coastal area, my coastal sites. So the sites that were facing the sea never had Stipulacea. They only had Uninervis and Ovalis. And this is only in Abu Dhabi, so I'm not talking about the western region of Abu Dhabi. So around Abu Dhabi city, the channels were mostly dominated by Stipulacea. And then outside, you can find only 2 species within the sites that was in my study.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
For the propagation of the seagrass, is it through the rhizomes or through the seed? You mentioned that they flower and they seed. Do we know when they are seeding? Are they seeding regularly or?
So yeah, seagrass, they can reproduce clonally and also sexually through flowering. That's one of the things that we really trying to understand. So I've been working with the Halophila stipulacea for many years in the Red Sea, and in the Red Sea and also in the Mediterranean Sea, they are flowering annually. And the flowering season is between May, starting from May until September. Here, that's something we are trying to find out, and hopefully by this time of next year, I'll be able to answer your question. So we're gonna do a monitoring, very like monthly monitoring, and we hopefully to capture the flowering event of the seagrass here. And yeah, hopefully next year we'll be able to answer that question.
Yes, Lonnie? And we're going to go this way after, yes.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentations. My question is mostly to do with the policy, so mostly to be for you, sir. I mostly have realized that with seagrass, you find that algae mostly outcompete seagrass, and then you also find that mostly now, most companies or most countries, they're pushing for blue economy. And then you realize that when you come to agriculture, mostly we'll be using fertilizers that mostly will end up being dumped in the oceans or in the seas, which will proliferate the growth of algae. And then by then also, the same algae will outgrow seagrass. So policy-wise, what can be done now to balance food problem, blue economy, and seagrass? Thank you.
All right, I don't want to answer that question.
Big question.
It's a big question. I will try to answer. I think the first thing is to have like a baseline study to understand the situation and to have data, and then based on the data you can build your policy. This is the way how we work. Without having actual data, you cannot frame any policy. So I would suggest that more research and more data to be generated, and based on that, you can really find the right policy recommendation for any specific issue. And it's different from country to country, from region to region. So you need to consider all these aspects. And I don't think that there is a one answer to fit for all the aspects. So we need to really look at the details and come up with the right policy recommendation. I hope that I try to answer.
I can add as well to that. So as the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi, we are the regulatory body. And any project within Abu Dhabi needs to go through something called an environmental impact assessment, which goes through all the scientists and experts within the agency to see the impact it has on the environment when it comes to the habitat itself, the water quality, the nutrient input, so any input into the sea. So all of this is monitored and addressed according to the environmental impact assessment that's submitted for every single project. That's very brief, but I think we have laws for this as well.
Thanks. All right. Yes.
Thank you very much for great 3 talks. I'm just interested in the stress memory that the seagrass show. And I'm assuming they don't have a nervous system, so this is some sort of DNA modification or acetylation that happens within the plants. And if that's the case and the DNA is changed, is that heritable? And are the seagrasses evolving to an increased change in the climate and in the stresses? And if that's the case, are they becoming more resilient?
So that actually what I am hoping, that with the repeatedly marine heat wave happening every summer is going to prime the seagrass in the sea. But the question will be if the priming is enough or is too much. If it's too much, it's going to kill the plant. So the plant which has died has no chance to remember anything. If the level of the heat wave just enough, it's not too extreme, it can actually prime. And one of the discovery that just tell you one of the study that's still undergoing, but it's hopefully will be published soon. So in 2018, during my master thesis, I conducted an experiment when I exposed the Halophilus stipulacea from the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, 2 different populations to simulated ocean warming. So we exposed them to hotter than what they are actually experiencing in the sea. And what I discovered is the population in the Red Sea. I give the number so it's easier for you to imagine. I exposed them for 2 weeks at 32 degrees. So the highest temperature they experience in the sea is around 28, 29. So a little bit more, 32 degrees. After 2 weeks, all of them died. 8 years later, so in 2022, I came back to Israel for my postdoc, and we wanted to study more. So we repeated the experiment. We add more factors. So at that time, it was only 1 single factor study. In 2022, we do multiple factor study. And so we were like hoping that after 2 weeks, they would die like what they did in 2017. But after 1 month of exposing to 32 degrees, they didn't even stop glowing. They was really enjoying very much the time. We were shocked. I remember I was sweating, putting my hand into the tank and measuring the seagrass. And they just didn't die like what we expected. And then we discovered what made them so resilient. It's the same population that we collected 5 years ago now became so resilient. They don't die at 32 degrees. What happened? And then, so in Israel, they have the national monitoring program where they're measuring the sea surface temperature every hours. So for many years, we were able to track the sea temperature in Eilat for the last 16 years. And we discovered in the last 4 or 5 years that the amount of marine heat waves, the days when the sea temperature went above 30, 31 degrees, jumped like this. So this happened in the last few years, that making the plants now is more really resilient. So as a scientist, I cannot say something without evidence, right? We cannot say now 100% that is the result of stress memory alone. It might happen that there's a lot of genotype, and because of the Murray heat wave, it killed all the weak genotype and remaining all the strong genotype. So now when even I went to the same population, but actually the plants are all strong genotype. That's one of the possible scenario. The second one, yes, maybe they have been drowned in the sea, and now they become more resilient. So actually that gave, together with the experimental demonstrated evidence for my PhD, when we tested the stress memory, thermal stress memory in 4 different seagrass species, we can somehow guess that, okay, maybe the thermal stress memory from the Murray heat wave is one of the contributors to the resilience of the seagrass now. And one thing that I want to stress here, we are in the Arabian Gulf. We have the extreme condition here. All around the world, I would say the temperature is around 28, 29 in the Mediterranean. 29 is already too warm. In other part, maybe 30. Here in the summer, the temperature can get to 36 degrees if I am...
Maybe 37 sometimes.
Even 37. And the seagrass are still here. So for me, as a biologist, I see this is like a remarkable opportunity to study. We should, and that's exactly what we are going to do here. We're going to collaborate and we're going to answer the question. We're going to study how the seagrass here in this particular region can survive in such extreme condition. And maybe they are the future of seagrass. Think about it, if global warming keeps on going. Many other reasons when other seagrass population are going to be wiped out because of the ocean warming. We need seagrass restoration, and we need to have material, right? Maybe that will be Arabian or Abu Dhabi seagrass going to be the game saver in the near future. So think about it, right? So we should see it, and I think this region, not only we have a high level of species diversity in seagrass, but also we have an extreme case, highly relevant to climate change. So I am confident that in the near future will be the next global hub of seagrass research here in Abu Dhabi. And we're going to make it happen, all of us.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other question? I think we'll have to stop because otherwise we'll spend the night here. All right, what did I see? I saw one here. Do we have just in the middle? Right in the middle, actually.
And can you swim with the seagrass, or how do you learn about them?
What?
How do we feel about them?
No, how do you learn about them? Do you swim with them and look at them, or
Or do you know about them? Or do you learn from them? Yeah? Or do you study them?
How do you study them? Do you
How
also
do you
go
study?
in the
How?
water and look, or how do you do it?
Noura,
So depending on where they are, in Abu Dhabi, if you go to Saadiyat Beach, you might see them on the beach itself, so they probably get washed away from the sea. But as researchers, we go to sites that we know seagrass exists. So we either, if it's very shallow, we would snorkel. If it's more than 3 meters, we would scuba dive, and we would do surveys. So we have long-term monitoring surveys where we take pictures, we measure the seagrass, so we count how many shoot within an area, and then we also look at the composition, so what species are there. So yeah, it's scuba diving, it's fun.
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so we can do a lot of things to study about seagrass, right? So what Noura just said is we go into the field and we actually taking data, taking picture, taking sample, measuring whatever we can measure, and we can also bring the plant back to the lab when we can do experiment on them, expose them to different kind of structure or condition, and then we can study them. So yeah, maybe one more activity for this weekend is to go to the sea and look for seagrass.
Exactly, it's perfect weather for that, right? I think we're going to close the discussion, but thank you so much for coming, and I'm so glad to see that you stayed until, my God,
Yeah,
it's
thank you so much.
10 past 8. So that was very interesting indeed. Thank you so much, Hang. Thank you so much, Noah. Thank you so much, Abdelmenam. See you next month. Look on the website. We should be talking about tectonics, a completely different subject, but as interesting as seagrass, or almost. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you tonight.